Welcome everyone to a Good Vibes Gaming discussion because, believe it or not, we have our first Nintendo Direct in God knows how long. I believe it was September of 2019 that we last had a Nintendo Direct, an actual Nintendo Direct. Not an indie showcase, not a partner showcase, an actual honest-to-God Direct. And you all asked for it. You wanted us to give our predictions because, I mean, we, of course, had to kick it around. We're obviously going to be streaming it when it comes out, but apparently you all want to know what we think is going to be crammed into this 50-minute presentation, which I believe outside of E3 is the longest direct that we've ever had, correct?
I think so.
It might be.
To put this into reference or into focus, it has been 530 days since the last General Direct,
wild.
Which is just mind-blowing.
Over a year and a half.
I didn't have a son. I lived in Pennsylvania still. There's a lot of changes I went through in my life since the last Direct. So, yeah.
Well, remember, we were just discussing in a recent Today's News Tonight about there was like a job position listed for a Nintendo Direct editor, and we were like, does this signal the return of actual General Directs? And obviously, these specific cases aren't linked. That would be too little lead time. But we were like, we're not sure if that means that General Directs are necessarily coming back. And lo and behold, they're back, at least for Wednesday, tomorrow. So that's super exciting. And we got advanced confirmation of Smash. Like, I'm loving it, man. This is great.
Yeah. I am truly excited for this.
Absolutely. There's a lot of hope going into this. It's also one of those things like, let's see how they differentiate this from the kind of tried and true method they had at this point of let's tweet out about an individual title, have that kind of be its own thing that gets a lot of the focus, and then use indie showcases and partner directs to highlight the other stuff coming to Switch. That way nothing really gets buried. And that is the kind of fear with this one, at least for individual people being showcased here is, you'll remember the things you really like about this Direct, but will you remember everything? And that's probably not likely when it's 50 minutes long, but we'll have to see what's actually shown. But of course, as Ash said, one thing we do know is coming is Smash Brothers. Woo! And do you think it's actually a character? Or do you think there's going to be a swerve here?
It's funny. I think it is going to be a character, but prior to this Direct announcement, I would have guessed that it wouldn't really be time for the next character announcement until late March, early April, because we just got Sephiroth in late December. So I would have thought maybe a month later we'd get the announcement, but I don't think they're going to tease Smash news in advance in the first ever General Direct in a year and a half, and it not be a character, right? That just seems like a weird. I mean, maybe it's not a misfire, but to me, that seems like it would be a misfire. So I think it's going to be a character, and I think it's going to be a first-party character. I'm just going to go straight out and predict that it's going to be a first-party character.
Yeah, I agree with that. I speculated on this in our short news update. What else would you update Smash for at this point? What else would be a Direct-worthy Smash update besides
I have a few ideas.
Yeah, I have a few.
I'll be interested to hear those, but I just real quick want to go on record. I agree.
Oh, no problem.
100% that it's a first party character, Ash.
Yeah, I'll take it a step further, and I'm going to straight up predict that it's going to be a Gen 8 Pokemon. I've been saying for a long time that I thought a Gen 8 Pokemon would be one of the DLC Fighter Pass 2 characters. Not personally what I would want. I think we have enough Pokemon reps, but I do think that that's going to happen. And if it is somehow a third-party character, which I don't think it is, I'm just going to go out and say Crash. Seems like could be Crash Bandicoot maybe. But I do think it is a first-party character, and I'm going to go with a Gen 8 Pokemon personally.
So with the timing of all this, a lot of people are talking about bringing up Zelda a lot because, it's coming up to its 35th anniversary. Pokemon Day is coming up as well. So if they care about that sort of things where they match up with, anniversaries, I could see it maybe being a Pokemon or a Zelda character. That said, Smash usually doesn't care about those things.
Exactly. I don't know if it's necessarily to coincide with Pokemon's anniversary. I just don't think we're going to go through the DLC without a Gen 8 Pokemon, personally. I hope I'm wrong, because, again, I think we have enough Pokemon reps for now, but yeah, that's what I'm thinking for now. A Zelda rep seems less likely to me after the Age of Calamity Spirit event. I would have maybe said, if that hadn't happened, I would have maybe said, hey, maybe it's time for Urbosa or something. But with that Spirit event happening, I kind of don't think that's going to be the case. Would love to be wrong, though. I think Urbosa or Mifa would be hype as hell.
Yeah. As for other things that could be beyond a character, if we want to get into real pie in the sky, and that's funny to think about when we're talking about which character could be in the DLC. But honestly, I'd love to see here's an echo pack. Here's a pack of 3 characters that are just echoes of existing characters that are now in the game. That's still hype. Missing stages pack. Here's the stages that have not been made into Ultimate. Make those available now. Again, really hype. Make this the Ultimate version. Or be a very simple guy. Here's costumes or songs that you can add to Smash just on its own. There's a lot of possibilities that would get people hyped. Maybe not in the same way as a brand new character, but that has its own flavor of hype that would maybe have an in-between before the next actual character announcement.
Yeah, I mean, I got to say, those ideas you just put forth, one of them was the idea I had, which is a missing stages pack. And for me personally, that would be just about as hype as a new character for me. Maybe even more hype than a new character, depending on who said character is. But yeah, I mean, I do, the more I think about it, I do find it interesting that Nintendo's specific wording was information, I think, about Smash Brothers Ultimate. It seems weird that they wouldn't, I do think it's going to be a character, let me be clear about that. But it is weird they didn't just say, the next character is going to be announced. So maybe it is something different, like a stage pack, or the music packs would be awesome. There are so many things they could do with Smash Ultimate that don't have to do with new characters. Costume packs, for example. People have been wanting costume packs forever. That would be hype. I pay for costume packs. So I don't know. I still think it's going to be a character. I think Nintendo's just being coy with their wording, but hey, give me a missing stages Pac-Man. Pac-Man. Well, hey, on that note, Pac-Maze. We need Pac-Maze, so
we do need Pac-Maze.
Yeah.
I'm torn on this. I agree that there's a possibility that there will be some kind of non-character related update, but I can't shake the feeling that we have to be getting at least the announcement of the next fighter. I agree with you too, Derek, though, that if there's going to be a first-party character, that it's going to be either Pokemon or Zelda related. If I'm going to go more specific than that, though. I'm going to say if it is a Pokemon, I think it'll be Inteleon. And if it is a Zelda character, I believe it is going to be Toy Link from the Link's Awakening remake.
Oh, God, I hope not. We don't need a 4th Link in the roster.
I think he's the right mix of interesting and disappointing to be the kind of announcement that we would get. Like, a lot of people, and I admit, I'd like to see him because I think he'd be really novel. I think the way that he is rendered would clash with the Smash art style in a really interesting way, and they could play with it.
Sure.
Make a stage for him that is obviously meant to look more toy or diorama-like. It could be cool. It could be fun, but it would also be that one where people are like, oh, a new character, and then it's like, oh, it's Link again. That is really saddening.
Right.
If it's a third-party character, I do think that Crash has a real good shot, and I said that last time too. And it,
we did, but
was not it. But with Crash 4 coming to the Switch real soon, and we've got the Insane Trilogy, it seems like a really good time to talk about Crash coming to Smash. But we thought that last time as well. So I'm hanging my hat on this being a first-party character this time.
Me too. And if it is a Gen 8 Pokemon, Inteleon's a great idea. I think that would be pretty cool, actually. But because we already have Greninja, and as a water starter, a lot of people have pointed out, of course, us included, that there is no grass starter yet, other than Ivysaur, which is only 1/3 of Pokemon Trainer's moveset. So I've kind of been thinking Rillaboom, but if not Rillaboom, possibly Toxtricity. I know people love Toxtricity.
I think Toxtricity has a better chance than Rillaboom because I don't see people talk about Rillaboom that often.
It's a good point. And there doesn't need to be type parity either. There's no reason it has to be like that.
A poison/lightning Pokemon would be novel, and it has its own unique Gigamax. So, I could see that being a thing. We'll have to see if it actually pans out that way, but just pie in the sky things again here from me for Smash. You said it was just like an announcement regarding information regarding Smash in that tweet. Do we dare hope for Fighters Pass 3?
That was my other thing I was going to say. If the information is just, hey, we heard you, we're working on another slate of characters, which would be, actually, that would be the one thing that would be even like way more exciting than getting a new character tomorrow, because that just tells us that this hype train's going to keep on going. And you know how I feel about this. I want this to never end, ever. But I also want Sakurai to be able to take a vacation. So,
right.
Yeah, I think that that's interesting, and I do think that there's. I would not discount that possibility. Because
me neither, actually.
In the messaging that they put out, they talk about how part of this direct will be focused on existing games that are already out. And in my mind, that reads as COVID definitely did a number on us. So we had to shift focus to, at least partially, to making new content for existing games so that we have stuff we can get out the door and either keep the fans happy with free updates or charge money for. So I have a feeling that at some point last year, Nintendo had to say, look, working from home is way more challenging than we expected, but making DLC is still easier than making whole entire new games. So let's take some of our teams and have them... because we got a Splatfest how long after they said they weren't going to do them anymore?
Yeah.
True.
So there is some precedent there, and the possibilities of updates for existing games has me giddy, because I think we all agree that Nintendo has left some games to just kind of dry on the or wither on the vine in weird ways. Like, could we get Mario Odyssey DLC out of this? Finally,
with Bowser's Fury so recent, I'm going to say no. I think that's one of the least likely ones. However, for whatever reason, especially with Mario Kart 8 still selling so well, maybe DLC for that.
Yeah.
That would be a wild surprise to get, after all this time, to get new DLC, or DLC at all, I guess, for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I can't help but think of Super Mario Maker 2, which seems to have had a weirdly short post-launch lifespan. I'm not saying I think there will be more DLC for that, but it just seems strange that it ended so early. What I do think we'll see in terms of DLC, though, is Age of Calamity. I think we're going to get some Age of Calamity DLC characters. That would not surprise me whatsoever.
Yep.
Yeah, that game is right in that sweet spot where you should start talking about that.
Right. It's like the perfect timing for it. There's Pura and Robbie, who, there are reasons to believe they could be coming to the game as DLC, and I think they probably are. And we know that Age of Calamity sold super well as well. So I think Age of Calamity DLC is almost a lock, in my opinion.
Yeah. I'd agree with that.
We know that there have been, we don't know if there's any veracity to them, but we know that there have been rumors swirling about 2D Metroid for a while. And it does seem as though it's time for a Metroid announcement.
Yeah.
So,
there's a lot they could do with Metroid, whether it's, a little bit more information on Prime 4, which honestly I'm going to say right now, I'm not expecting to see Prime 4.
I'm not expecting Prime 4. Yeah,
I don't expect Prime 4.
Yeah.
2D Metroid or Prime Trilogy, I think, is our best bet, even though I'm not really expecting anything from either.
Yeah.
I'm leery. Oh, go ahead, Steve.
I was going to say, I agree with Derek 100%. I would love to see a new Mercury Steam Metroid game, but I don't think that I don't think that we'll get that so soon. I think that Nintendo is probably focused on Prime 4 at the moment, hopefully. That said,
right.
How many times have we heard about Prime Trilogy? And if that has truly been, because I think 2 years ago it was heavily rumored that it was going to be announced at the Game Awards.
Right.
And I don't know. I still think that there was some truth to those rumors. And if true, that means that game should have been done, or that collection should have been done for quite some time now. So Nintendo could just say, hey, we're in the middle of a slow, we're taking longer than expected to get new games out. Let's take one of the games we've been sitting on and get a release date on that. Because, that would be incredibly hype to get the original 3 Metroid Prime games on the Switch. I would
Super
be so happy.
Oh, yeah. That'd be great.
I'm leery of predicting as much, just because, as you were saying, Steve, I think a bunch of us have predicted Metroid Prime Trilogy so many times now and have been wrong every time. But I still believe it's a thing. I believe it exists, and I think it's just a matter of time. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it tomorrow, but I'm stopping just short of going all in on that, because we've been wrong about that so many times.
Yeah, agreed.
But I do agree with you, Derek. I don't think we're going to see Prime 4. On that note, I don't think we're going to see Breath of the Wild 2 either. I think that's still a little too far
yeah.
out. But I do think we are going to see some Zelda stuff, with the whole 35th anniversary celebrations ramping up. I think we're going to maybe see the announcement of maybe something like a Wind Waker HD, Twilight Princess HD dual pack.
I was going to mention to that because Steve was talking about, DLC is a little easier to develop for, and I'm not saying ports are easy, but certainly easier than a brand new game. So it makes sense to let's get Twilight Princess, let's get Wind Waker HD onto the Switch. And I don't know, how many more Zelda games would they attempt to get on here? Are we going to start seeing all the other ones that people want to see, like of course Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask 3D? Or if they do the N64 games, would they just do the N64 games and do a straight port like they did with Super Mario 64?
That's want the 3DS ports so badly of those games. Mm-hmm. I know they can't call them 3D anymore, obviously. Call them HD. I don't care. But I don't want ROM dumps, right? I want Ocarina and Majora 3DS. Up-res them to 720p, whatever you got to do, do the bare minimum. I don't care, but I just don't want ROM dumps of the N64 version. So that's what I'm hoping is not going to happen.
So I think that we get kind of, I don't want to say the best of both worlds because it wouldn't be the best but I think we get somewhere in between, because one of the things that saved Mario 3D All-Stars was that 64 was just one game of 3, and the other two did support widescreen and were a little bit touched up. Where, it is much harder to say, give us $60 for two just straight N64 ports with nothing improved. So I think that Nintendo, from a marketability standpoint, faces the challenge of... So there's two ways I think they could go about this. One is that we get Wind Waker HD, Twilight Princess HD, and both N64 games in one package for $60, but then you're damn sure that that the two N64 games are not being touched up at all. You're just getting 4x3 ROM dumps. The other is that we get the Wii U ports, the HD Wii U ports as a standalone $60 package, and we get a second different retail package with the N64 games, but then I feel like if they go that route, they have to improve them somewhat.
Yeah.
Because I'm not paying $60 or even $40 really for two just unmodified N64 ROMs sold by themselves. It's just a bridge too far from even me as a Zelda fan. I agree.
Yeah, and I think Nintendo, I think you're right, Steve. Nintendo probably realizes that. I think they know that they probably, they got away with Mario 3D All-Stars because, as you said, at the end of the day, there were still some minor improvements to the latter two games. But I think even Nintendo probably realizes they can't coast on fan goodwill and nostalgia so much that they can get away with selling two N64 ROM dumps for $60. That said, there is a potential blind spot here that we haven't quite mentioned yet, and that is Skyward Sword. And I'm going to go out and say that I think we're going to get Skyward Sword HD announced tomorrow. It's just, I don't know, it's just a feeling I have, not based on anything in particular, but it's been swirling for a while, right? And it feels like with the anniversary coming up, Skyward Sword is the one they haven't really done anything with from the 3D era, pre-Breath of the Wild. And I'm just going to say that I think it's time.
It helps these sort of packages help a lot when certain games haven't been ever re-released. Like Mario 64 got re-released on a ton of systems. Mario Sunshine and Galaxy hadn't yet. So to get a re-release of those type of Zelda games would be more significant. Like Skyward Sword is, because of that fact, a bit more hype than it is for Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. But they're just sitting there on the Wii U, not really selling that great when they have the potential to sell so much better this time around, thanks to the Switch. There's so many different collections they could do that really bring people in. Like, I mean, I'll be honest, I'd kill for just Switch Online, Four Swords Adventures. Sort of idea, or a 2-pack of Link Between Worlds and Minish Cap or something like that. Like, there's so many of these games that could be brought forward now and would get people hype. Whether or not they actually do it.
Four Swords Adventures with good online, like online, it actually works, untethered, no more GBA link cables. That would be hype.
Yeah. Agreed.
That would be so good. I know something I would like to see announced. I don't think it's actually going to happen, but I'm just gonna, I'm gonna hold out hope that maybe we'll see a port of Rhythm Heaven Megamix on Switch someday. If not a new Rhythm Heaven game, I'm not gonna say I think it's happening, but I'm just gonna hold out a little hope that it does, even if it's just a port of Megamix. Yeah, but I'm not predicting that. I just wanna. I feel like if I say it and put it out in the universe, that maybe it'll come back to me. So we'll see.
Nice. Yeah, I have to say, going back to Zelda real quick, I don't think that they're going to touch the portable Zelda games, at least not in this direct. They maybe later in the year. I also about Skyward Sword for a minute. I don't think we're going to hear if we get Skyward Sword. I think it's going to hew almost closer to remake territory, which is why I don't think we'll see it tomorrow, because those motion controls were so key to the original game, and to either make them work well with a Joy-Con or worse yet, a Pro Controller, I think that would be a huge undertaking. Nintendo would have to significantly retool the game to get it to work. So I would imagine that if we ever get Skyward Sword, that it would be more in the vein of a remake with a new control scheme, because they're not going to bundle a Wiimote Plus with a re-release of Skyward Sword so that we can play it the right way. And I mean, even enemy AI is kind of focused on the control mechanics. Enemies turn a certain way, and they're only vulnerable from a slash from a specific direction. So I think Nintendo would have to do a lot of work to get it to fit into the Switch control scheme, since the Joy-Con unfortunately just aren't as accurate as a Wiimote Plus was back in the day. So I think because of that, we probably won't see it. At least, definitely not as part of a bundle. I feel like Nintendo, if they go the Skyward Sword re-release route, will do like a full-on remaster and because they'll have to rework the mechanics of the game. So I could see it being a $50 or $60 standalone game, which would be cool. I'd be hype as hell for it. Hopefully they fix Link's weird face if they do a remake. He looked a little off-putting, but
he did a little weird. Yeah,
I do have a deep love of Skyward Sword, and I would love to.
I do too.
Derek, I have a question for you. Back in the Game Explain days, you rather infamously during a predictions discussion said that you thought Chrono Trigger, a Switch port of Chrono Trigger, was going to be announced. Do you still feel that way again? Are you going to predict that for tomorrow, or have you has your ship sailed on that?
I don't know. I mean, it makes sense. It's like an easy slam dunk for Square Enix to get people hyped for it. But it's funny because we saw those sales numbers for Chrono Trigger over the years, and it's never as big as we thought they was for such being viewed as such a seminal RPG. Right. But it would be kind of cool to see it happen. I mean, the thing is, Square has such a library. Like, if they wanted to be really interesting, they could just release a bundle of Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross. That'd be wild to have that together as one bundle. I was thinking, actually, it's like, we got all these re-releases of past Final Fantasy games now. We got 7, 8, 9, 10 with 10-2, even 12 with Zodiac Age. What's to stop Square from, like, obviously we'd all love to see 1 through 6 on the Switch, and I please do that so we can have, like, sort of, especially in the case of 5 and 6's case, definitive versions of those games, because give them the treatment that Final Fantasy IV Complete Edition got on the PSP, and then port that version to the Switch as well, because that is one of the best classic versions of 4. But I was thinking, like, what's to stop Square, and you'll like this, Ash, to stop them from releasing, like, the Final Fantasy 13 trilogy and bundle those 3 games together and re-release those. You'd like that. I'm not sure how many people would be actually hyped for it, but it is Square.
The only thing is, because those games have aged so well visually, that's still the kind of thing I'd rather play, I think, on a more powerful system, right? Because
I'm not saying it's going to be Switch exclusive. I'm just saying it's also going to be on Switch.
That's true. That's a good point. I mean, it is time, I think, for them to port the 13 trilogy to modern platforms. I know not everyone loves them. I get that, but I don't know. I think they should be preserved for future generations of hardware, like any other Final Fantasy. Mm-hmm. And I do think that, despite varying opinions on them, I do think the 13 games have redeeming qualities, even if you don't like them as much as I do. Well, I don't like Lightning Returns, but the first 2, yes. So I would like that to happen, but I'm not sure I necessarily am going to predict that.
I'm just saying about the possibilities of Square. There's so many things they could do. Like they released Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3. How about we get 4, 5, and 6?
Yeah, that's very true. This is a complete aside, but since we're talking about third parties, as you guys know, every Monday night I get together with a couple of my best buds and play Fall Guys, like over Discord. And I was thinking last night, again, and I've thought it many times, I don't know how long the timed exclusivity period is for Fall Guys on PS4, but Fall Guys feels like the kind of game that should be on Switch. And I still feel like there's enough energy surrounding it. It's not obviously at the height that it was before, but I still feel like there's still enough momentum behind it that maybe that could still be a thing that happens, like Fall Guys Switch port. I don't know. Maybe not, but it just feels like a thing that should happen. I don't know.
Man, that
I could see it.
Interesting. I feel like that would give Fall Guys kind of a much needed boost.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now,
letting the Switch audience discover it, it's a good fit for the Switch.
I think it's a good fit for the Switch's audience. Yeah, although having played as much Fall Guys as I have, I know that it already has some online issues on PS4, so it has online issues there. I shudder to think about what might happen on Switch, but who knows if it's even in the cards or not. But it would be nice, I think.
Agreed.
Do you all think we'll see? I mean, we got the ratings we talked about this the other day. Is this where we're going to see the reveal of Great Ace Attorney?
I could see that. I think so. I think so, which is exciting. Maybe that, and even that's probably coming later. But I know there's reason to believe that we're getting Ace Attorney 4 through 6 eventually as well. But I do think that's probably not going to happen at the same time. I think Great Ace Attorney first, and I could see it tomorrow.
I feel like the games that have leaked recently that kind of led us to the conclusion that there probably was a direct coming soon are definitely part of the direct. I mean, it's too coincidental now.
Right.
So I think that means also we'll see. I think it was Star Wars Republic Commando is the game that leaked on the eShop itself. That's got to be a shadow drop.
That makes sense
during the direct. So yeah, I think that all those games we've seen passing through ratings boards, or on the eShop itself, that we already thought that was a contributing factor to the idea that a direct was coming. So then when a direct actually shows up, it's like, it's going to be a partner direct. Yeah. We thought it was a partner direct because, everyone but Nintendo seemed to be leaking. So
right. So unfortunately, I have to duck out of this discussion a little early because I'm recording Friend Code with the Easy Allies. Damiani invited me on Friend Code today, so I unfortunately do have to duck out. But I'll leave you guys with one final prediction, kind of pie in the sky. Maybe middle of the road. New platform for NES and SNES Online. I think maybe we could see GBA games being added. I was waffling back and forth between N64 and GBA, but then I was thinking, if we do N64 though, you'd think Super Mario 64 would have to be part of that, but they just put that as part of 3D All Stars, and that devalues that package if they do that. So I think maybe
they could wait until after it is no longer available to sell. Yeah.
So maybe. So I don't know. It just feels like maybe it's around time for a new platform to be added. I could be completely wrong, but I don't know. I'm just going to throw it out there and say let's say Game Boy Advance for Nintendo Switch Online and see what happens. I'm
going to agree with you that there's legs on that prediction. However, I am going to disagree with you on the platform. I'm going to say that N64 is it because, like Derek said, Mario is being delisted at the end of March. And there definitely won't be another general direct between now and April. I think we should all temper our expectations. So I'm going to say that they announce that N64 games are coming to Switch Online at the end of March. Good
call.
Yeah.
I could see that.
I
I guess on that note, then here'll be my final thing. I want them to. I don't know if I predict this, but I want them to announce, hey, Mario 35, the reception has been way more positive than we expected. We can see that you guys love it. Here's a retail edition of Mario 35 that's going to go on sale after we delist it, that is more fully featured and has, it will continue to be a thing, and it's not going to go away forever and disappear after March 31st. So I'm not going to predict that, but I'm going to hope for that. But I should go ahead and duck out, guys. Yeah. So I will talk to you soon. All right. And I'm going to go record Friend Code.
All right. Give our best to the Easy Allies.
Will do. All right. Bye, guys.
See ya.
Bye. All right, and then there were two. So, I'm trying to think. I had some ideas, but now Ash left him like I'm lost spot without him. What to say? What to say? I can pick up with that. Where I don't know if we'll actually see any Pokemon stuff during this direct, especially with Pokemon Day coming up. I think Pokemon will be mostly left out.
I agree with that. I think that Pokemon 1 has had multiple directs of its own already, so there's a precedent for Nintendo just putting on a Pokemon-centric show. And I think that they don't necessarily, between the other games that we kind of feel are going to be shown and it would be really weird not to include Zelda in some way in this direct, because Zelda is one of their biggest franchises, right up there with Mario. And for them to just ignore it in light of its 35th anniversary being just 4 days after the direct would be really weird. So I feel that they're not going to want Zelda and Pokemon competing for the spotlight. And so I think that Pokemon will get its own separate showing at a later date.
Yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. So we can't really expect that. Well, I thought of my 2 other predictions, but I'm curious what you're thinking, Steve. Like, what are your thoughts? What we might see.
So first, I want to talk about a couple of things I know we won't see because I think I'm way more certain about those. One, the Switch Pro, it's not going to be there. Not a hair or a hint of it. Nothing. So if you're expecting hardware out of this thing, I also will say I don't think we're getting a Zelda edition Switch. I don't think that Nintendo's going to make a special edition, especially when they just released the Mario edition. I don't think that they're going to, double dip on that anytime soon. I'd love to be wrong, but I don't think I am.
And you'll be picking up another Switch.
Yeah, exactly. Please, Nintendo, don't release another Switch. I can't afford these. I do think if we get a Zelda game, if we get, even if it's a collection, I think we're going to get some kind of special edition for it. Maybe something low key, like a gold Switch cartridge or something to the effect. If you pre-order the game, you'll get a gold cartridge or something like that. I don't think we're going to see Breath of the Wild 2. I don't think we're going to see anything from Nintendo's core franchise. I think Zelda is going to be the only core franchise that's really represented. Going back to the updates, though, I do think we're going to get some kind of DLC for Splatoon 2. I feel like these Splatfests proved that people still have a deep interest in the game, even almost 4 years on. And I would be surprised if the Splatoon 2 team wasn't working on something to kind of keep the game fresh, as it were.
Yeah. The thing is, I'm not sure if they'll, would they release this, or would they just keep plugging away on what we assume would be Splatoon 3? I don't know.
See, that's a good question. I feel like that's a really good question. I would love a Splatoon 3. And it has been almost 4 years, so it would be a reasonable amount of time. The interesting thing is, I mean, Splatoon and Mario Kart share a team, essentially. So
yeah,
we're getting one or the other. So if we get what are the odds that we get smaller updates for both games? We get something by way of maybe a couple new tracks for Mario Kart 8 that maybe had originally been destined for an eventual Mario Kart 9. And we get, I don't even know what you would add to Splatoon, because we already have the Octo expansion.
Yeah. They did have that New Year's thing with the Salmonids. I mean, I guess they could expand on the Salmonid thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you would maybe a new co-op mode or something like that, just to get people into the game in a different way. But I expect some type of update for Splatoon, especially because Nintendo in Japan, they had just re-released Splatoon 2 bundle with this Pro controller that I just happened to have handy. Well, sorry, if you're listening, I'm holding up the Splatoon 2 edition Pro controller, but they just re-released that in Japan over the holidays. So maybe they certainly know a lot of things we don't. But I would lay money that there's some kind of update coming for Splatoon 2. I don't know what the focus of that update would be, but I would bet a new mode, because I think that that's something that's not hard to put together. That wouldn't necessarily take a ton of resources, but would be a valuable enough update to get people who haven't been playing the game for a while to come back. Like I didn't do the last Splatfest. It just
No,
whatever. But I would definitely come back if a co-op mode or really any new mode was introduced to the game. I'd at least come back and try it.
Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities there. I'm not sure. The thing is, I'm trying to figure out the split of third-party stuff and Nintendo stuff.
I think this will be mostly third party.
You think it's going to be mostly third party?
Yeah, I think that we're going to see updates to Nintendo games. I think we're going to see one or two brand new things we didn't know about before. But we have to remember, this is supposed to be focused on the first half of 2021. So theoretically up till June. So stuff that is imminent in a way. Which tells me that if a game is imminent and we haven't heard of it, it's probably not a real big game. It's probably not a AAA Nintendo effort.
Actually, that puts the mind immediately like, oh, they can do what they've done a lot of times in the past with this series. Kirby.
Oh, man.
Here, surprise, next Kirby game's ready. They did that before with Triple Deluxe, The Planet Robot, where, hey, here's this new Kirby game. It comes out in 2 months.
That's true. We could get something like that, and I'd be really happy to have a new Kirby game on the Switch that isn't a free-to-play, freemium kind of thing. I would rather just get a regular-ass Kirby game, so I would be really happy with that.
I'm excited for the idea if they can expand upon ideas a bit more, because by Star Allies, it's like, okay, I think they've ran out of ideas of how to do what they were doing since the beginning of Return to Dreamland. So hopefully some new, interesting mix-ups, but I don't know what they would do other than 3D, and I'm not sure if they're going 3D yet.
Oh man, a 3D Kirby would be wild. I would like to see it, but yeah, I agree that I don't think that a game that comes out 2 months after announcement would be like a 3D Kirby. I think they'd stick to the formula for the most part, but I don't know. I would be excited to see anything from Kirby. I would love to see something from Star Fox, which again I doubt. Nintendo seems to pour a lot of effort into their Star Fox games for very little return, honestly. So I don't think Nintendo knows what to do with Star Fox right now. I think they're a little confused.
They definitely do not.
I think so I don't think we'll see Star Fox. I think there's a good chance we'll see Kirby. I think that of all the franchises that Nintendo kind of has as their, for lack of a better term, B-tier franchises, or their second string, I could see Kirby being front of the line, because they do love to just trot out new Kirby games with very little fanfare, like, hey, here he is.
And it's been a while since we've had a Kirby game that's not freemium.
True. Yeah. I could see smaller games too. Nintendo announcing at least one or publishing an indie similar to Snipper Clips. I could see them. They like to do those too. Like Good Job, Stretchers. Yeah. I could see one of those types of games being a shadow drop at the Direct. Something that obviously we can't predict, but it would be from developed by an indie studio. Nintendo picks up the publishing rights to it. Those are usually fun little
another
games.
Simpler-ish game, I guess, that would be easy to shadow drop, I'd say, is like something like Mario Golf.
That would be cool. Oh man. John, our good friend John, was just posting on Twitter today that it has been, I want to say he said 20 years since the last Mario baseball game, I believe, which is crazy. But I will say this is my pie in the sky hope for just a weird out of left field game. Give me a new WarioWare. Give me a WarioWare on the Switch.
I can't believe they haven't taken advantage of the Switch with WarioWare yet.
Yeah, I mean, it was a Wii U launch title. So, that should tell you all you need to know about how long it takes internally to make a WarioWare game. But, man, I would go nuts for a WarioWare game on the Switch. I mean, and they've graced every portable console they've had with WarioWare. So, it is really weird that we don't have one yet on the Switch. I mean, that team is crazy. The last WarioWare we got was WarioWare Gold on the 3DS, which was just a compilation of older minigames or micro games.
Yeah.
So
I mean, still fun. People definitely enjoyed it, and it definitely upped the presentation of WarioWare, but it'd be cool to have a brand new thing too.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to get a brand new WarioWare game. That would be one of my favorite ones. I have a feeling that the team that did what was the jump rope game called? Jump Rope Studio? No.
Is it just Jump Rope?
Yeah, well, either way, y'all know the game we're talking about,
Yeah.
the Jump Rope game for the Switch. I have a feeling that the WarioWare team was involved with that somehow. The art style, the use of color, the logo even, it just felt like the WarioWare guys were involved. So I could see them maybe using something like that as a warm-up. Can we make micro games during the pandemic? Because that game could have been a WarioWare micro game.
Yeah.
So I feel that would be... Maybe they were just getting their legs under them with the working from home scenario, and they went right to work after that on a WarioWare game. The timeline would fit. About a year to make a WarioWare game makes sense. So, that would be. I would be so happy if you shadow drop a WarioWare game, or even if you just announce one. I'm there. That would make the whole direct for me. But yeah, I don't think that I have a ton of other predictions for this thing. I'm just excited that we're getting an actual direct because I think it carries a certain weight to it.
Yeah, that is definitely true. I have a few more that I'll put out there just to see. Maybe it'll happen, maybe not. One of the big ones I think is it'd be really cool if this happened. It's likely not going to happen, but this would be a pretty awesome way to finally reveal the release date of Hollow Knight Silk Song.
Yes.
Which did just get that Edge magazine
coverage.
That's true. So to put out like, all right, it's coming in May. That's a huge thing.
Yeah. It would be a great place to do it for Team Cherry too. I mean, there's no better stage online than a Nintendo Direct.
And people would talk about it. Another thing I'll put out there is new Fire Emblem.
Oh man.
Or more specifically, old Fire Emblem. Maybe return the Echoes line and do another remake.
I could see that.
And if we're going in line, I think the two that make the next one line, because we've already had, there's of course remake of the original. We got Shadows of Valentia. Then we got the remake of the third game that never came to the States. Next up in line is, I believe, number 4, which is Genealogy of the Holy War, which is a fan favorite. So to have that on Switch, I think would get people, especially hardcore fans of Fire Emblem, really happy.
Yeah.
And I think there's even like elements of Three Houses in Genealogy, if my memory serves me correct. I'm not positive on that one, but it would be kind of cool. Otherwise, be kind of cool if they finally brought over Roy's game. I don't think it's like the best Fire Emblem, but to finally have Roy's game actually translated for the States,
that'd
be something.
Cool. I do like that Nintendo did that with the original Fire Emblem earlier.
Yeah.
Was it this year? Was it 2021? No.
Yeah, it was 2020.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like that they did that. I
2020.
could see them continuing that, bringing back games that they've never brought here. I'm not going to say Earthbound. It's not happening. But
no, give up hope. Like we might get Earthbound coming to Switch Online, or maybe Earthbound Beginnings, but don't expect Mother 3.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I could say though, now that you mentioned Fire Emblem, I mean, Fire Emblem Three Houses was wildly successful. Mm-hmm. They could just add more DLC to Fire Emblem Three Houses. People would buy it. I would buy it.
People would, but what would they do with it?
I mean,
I guess they could have like a true ending where they kind of unify the story a bit, but I don't see that happening.
Same. I agree that that's probably not happening, but they could add, I mean, let's just be real. The opportunity for fan service is always there with Fire Emblem. They could do some crazy fan servicey DLC. They could do, anything that adds more battles, more character interaction. I mean, honestly, with how fervent the Three Houses fan base is, they'd probably buy anything you released. So, I mean, I would. So I could see them announcing something just because there is a huge base of Three Houses specific fans that they could, hey, here's something new. It's $20. It adds 10 hours of gameplay or whatever. People would buy it. I
could see it.
I could see
just
it,
to see them extra lore and content and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I'll throw out this one last thing that I can just think of off the top of my head about possibilities. Next week, Persona 5 Strikers comes out. Would they dare also announce finally that Persona 5 is coming to Switch, or just like, okay, it did really well on PC. Here's Persona 4 Golden on Switch.
Oh man, either one of those. Well, okay, Persona 5 on the Switch would be no joke, an actual megaton. People would lose their collective minds over Persona 5. I mean, it's the reason that I never finished Persona 5 on the PS4, because back then rumors were just rampant that Persona 5 was coming to the Switch, which, if you're tracking, is definitely possible. Persona 5 was a PS3 game.
Yeah.
I mean,
Royal would be a lot harder, but
Yeah.
5 vanilla, perfectly possible.
Agreed. And I think that it would be a huge get for Nintendo. That is a huge game. And I mean, forget about America. It would move tons of units in Japan. Persona 5 is pretty well globally popular. I agree that 4 Golden, though, would be a slam dunk as well. I don't think it would carry near the hype of 5, but...
No, but it also did really well on PC, so I think
Right.
it still would do very well, that word of mouth, especially with the PC release doing so well. At the very least, even if we don't get Persona, we could get more information on Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne and 5.
True. I feel like we are way overdue for a proper...
I mean,
look at
Nocturne's
that
already
game.
released in Japan. I'd actually be shocked if we don't get a Nocturne release date.
Yeah, that's true. Nocturne, I expect a release date for 5.
Hard to
It's
say.
like every time I expect it, it doesn't show up. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good point.
I'm hopeful, though. I would say, though, in this direct, I would not count on it, just because I feel like they're going to focus on bigger things. But, I mean, with Smash and potentially Zelda, I feel like Nintendo is going to take a lot of the spotlight for this return to form for the direct. So we'll see. But
Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities. There's probably a bunch of stuff out there that we didn't even think of that people were like, well, what about this? And it's like, well, maybe we'll see. But to give a bit of a idea of just how megaton this could be and how many things they could show, we're about to hit the mark of how long this thing actually is, 50
Yeah.
minutes.
exactly.
And that's with a minute-long trailers or 2-minute-long trailers, some extra presentations, there's a lot of stuff that could get announced in the middle of all this. And I'm excited. I am very excited to see what they could be showing, what could be on the horizon. I will say I expect at least a little bit dedicated to games coming out soon. Like, here's, Persona 5 Strikers coming out soon. Here's Bravely Default 2 coming out soon. That sort of idea. Maybe even a little section on Monster Hunter Rise. Talk a little bit more about that, what you can expect. Just look at the stuff that we already know about. And since it is having many more eyes on it, here's a good chance to promote it again and let you know, hey, this thing exists.
I agree with that 100%. I think we'll see, like you said, a lot of the near-term stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little update on new Pokemon Snap, just because people will be looking and it comes out in 2 months. I think that we'll see, like you said, I do think that the more I think about it, the more I think that there will be at least one big indie reveal, because Nintendo loves to give that spotlight to smaller studios. And I mean, I think it'll be a high-profile indie, which is why I think that Silksong is a real good pick on your part, because that is probably right now the highest-profile indie game out there. The only other one I can think of that could potentially capture the same amount of attention is the Cuphead DLC.
Maybe but I think that's still a ways
like
off.
Microsoft would take... I feel like that would be an Xbox reveal before it would be at a Direct.
Yes, absolutely. See, I thought you were going to say surprise announcement of Deltarune Chapter 2.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that would be real big.
I don't know if that's a thing. I don't know if that'll be a thing. I feel like Silksong's more likely, to be honest, but there you go.
Yeah, but Toby Fox has been real cozy with Nintendo. He helped out with music for Smash, so
That is true.
I mean, anything's
is true.
possible. He may have done some extra negotiating while he was working on that. Who knows? But yeah, I feel like the big thing for me is that no matter what happens, I'm just hyped that we have a general direct. It's crazy because we
That's
were
nice.
just talking about them being dead.
We get to sit back and just enjoy a direct.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever gotten to do that.
Yeah, we're just gonna watch it right here live with the audience. There's no we're not gonna be ducking out. We're not gonna be re-uploading anything. It's just gonna be us and the audience watching this direct together. Which
seeing what we see, and we'll be right there along with you. seeing what gets announced, and you'll be able to see right there live whether we are excited about it or like, I don't know.
Yeah,
so,
but regardless of how it turns out, it's going to be a great time. I love doing this kind of, sharing these hype moments with people and being able to react to it live and unfiltered and just have fun with it. So yeah, it's going to be fun, and it's going to be fun not to be scrambling around trying to do other things while enjoying
trying to record one as the next one goes, and you're missing what is exactly happening. You're like, what I miss?
Yeah, exactly. And in that type of grind, it's always that you watch the direct after it's over. So we'll get to watch the direct when it happens, which is my favorite way to do it.
Yeah, that'll be nice. But I think that, unless you have any more, I think that covers it for all my predictions for this new Nintendo Direct.
All right. Real quick, everyone that is watching this video, this is the last thing I'm going to ask of you. If you've hung in here this long, you're committed. Tonight, grab every Sonic game you own, make a circle, and put Sonic Mania right in the middle.
Ooh.
Sonic Mania 2. It won't happen, but I want it to. And if I can somehow will something into existence, it would be Sonic Mania 2. So please, Sega, have something in this direct. Please.
If it actually happens, know that Steve sold his soul to the devil to make it happen.
I mean, that's fine. That's a price I'm willing to pay. So.
I love it. But at the very least, I think that does take care of it for our predictions discussion. So thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/gvgaming. But even just subscribing to this channel and ringing that bell helps us a ton. So we'll be back tomorrow at 5 o'clock Eastern for the Nintendo Direct. We'll be reacting to it live with all of you. And until then, bye.
Bye, everyone.